Learn about the world. Japan. Japan is a country located in East Asia, including a series of islands in the Pacific Ocean located close to the east coast of Asia. The main islands of Japan, from north to south, are Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku and Kyushu. It has the same marine border with China, North Korea, South Korea, Philippines, Russia and Taiwan. Basic information. Full name, Japan. Government type, constitutional monarchy with parliament. ISO, JP, JPN. Country domain, JP. Phone code, +81. Time zone, +9 o'clock. The main islands, Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku and Kyushu. Capital, none. The official capital, Tokyo, is the seat of government offices. Major cities, Fukuoka, Fukushima, Kobe, Kyoto, Nagoya, Osaka, Sapporo, Sendai and Yokohama. Largest cities in Japan by population, Tokyo, Yokohama, Osaka, Nagoya, Sapporo, Fukuoka, Kobe, Kawasaki, Kyoto, Saitama, Hiroshima, Sendai, Chiba, Kitakyushu, Sakai, Niigata, Hamamatsu, Kumamoto, Sagamihara, Okayama. Area, 377,962 square kilometers. Terrain, barren islands and mountains. Climate, varies from subtropical to temperate. Population, 123,151,699, May 2025. Main ethnicity, Japanese. Religion, Shinto and Buddhism. Language, Japanese, Nihongo. Resources, insignificant mineral resources, marine fish. Agriculture products, rice, sugar beets, vegetables, fruits, pork. Poultry, dairy products, eggs, fish. Industries, leading in manufacturing motorcycles, electronic equipment, machine tools, steel and non-ferrous metals, ships, chemicals, textiles, processed foods. Exports, goods, motorcycles, iron and steel products, semiconductor, auto parts, generator, plastic materials. Exports partners, US, China, Korea, Hong Kong, Thailand. Imports, commodities, petroleum, liquid natural gas, clothing, semiconductor, coal, audiovisual equipment. Imports partners, China, US, Australia, South Korea. Currency, yen, JPY. The foreign relations of Japan are handled by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan. Japan maintains diplomatic relations with every United Nations member state except for North Korea. In addition to UN observer states Holy See, as well as Kosovo, Cook Islands and Niue. Japanese foreign relations had earliest beginnings in the 14th century and after their opening to the world in 1854 with the Convention of Kanagawa. Japan rapidly modernized and built a strong military. It was imperialistic, seeking control of nearby areas, with major wars against China and Russia. It gained control of parts of China and Manchuria, as well as Korea and islands such as Taiwan and Okinawa. Since occupation ended, diplomatic policy has been based on close partnership with the United States and seeking trade agreements. In the Cold War, Japan was demilitarized, but it allied with the US in the confrontation with the Soviet Union. It played a major support role in the Korean War, 1950 to 1953. In the rapid economic developments in the 1960s and 1970s, Japan was one of the major economic powers in the world. By the 1990s, Japan participated in the peacekeeping operations by the UN. and sent troops to Cambodia, Mozambique, Golan Heights and the East Timor. After the 9/11 terror attacks in 2001, Japanese naval vessels have been assigned to resupply duties in the Indian Ocean to the present date. The Ground Self-Defense Force also dispatched their troops to southern Iraq for the restoration of basic infrastructures. Beyond its immediate neighbors, Japan has pursued a more active foreign policy in recent years, recognizing the responsibility which accompanies its economic strength. Japanese Prime Minister Yasuo Fukuda stressed a changing direction in a policy speech to the National Diet. Japan aspires to become a hub of human resource development as well as for research and intellectual contribution to further promote cooperation in the field of peace building. 4. This follows the modest success of a Japanese-conceived peace plan which became the foundation for nationwide elections in Cambodia in 1998. By 1990, Japan's interaction with the vast majority of Asia-Pacific countries, especially its burgeoning economic exchanges, was multifaceted and increasingly important to the recipient countries. The developing countries of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, regarded Japan as critical to their development. In South Asia, Japan's role is mainly that of an aid donor. 174, Japan's aid to 7 South Asian countries totaled $1.1 billion in 1988. Except for Pakistan, which received heavy inputs of aid from the United States, all other South Asian countries received most of their aid from Japan as of the early 1990s. Japan's engagement with the Middle East region reflects a sophisticated, multidimensional approach that has evolved since the 1973 oil crisis. Initially driven by energy security concerns, Japan's strategy now includes economic partnerships, cultural exchanges, and political collaboration. Japan contests Russia's control of the southern Kuril Islands, including Itorofu, Kunashiri, Shikotan, and the Habamai Group, which were occupied by the Soviet Union in 1945. South Korea's assertions concerning Liancourt rocks are acknowledged, but not accepted by Japan. Japan has strained relations with the People's Republic of China, PRC, and the Republic of China, Taiwan, over the Senkaku Islands, and with the People's Republic of China over the status of Okinotorishima. Human rights. Japan is a constitutional monarchy. The Human Rights Scores Dataverse ranked Japan somewhere in the middle among G7 countries on its human rights performance. Below Germany and Canada and above the United Kingdom, France, Italy, and the United States. The Fragile States Index ranked Japan second last in the G7 after the United States on its Human Rights and Rule of Law sub-indicator. According to the statistics of the Ministry of Justice, MOJ, for 2022, the MOJ human rights organs received 159,864 consultations on human rights violations, completed 7,627 cases of remedial measures for victims, and initiated 7,859 cases of remedial measures. Of the cases in which the MOJ completed redress for victims, the largest number of cases related to discriminatory treatment were for discriminated Barackman, 406 cases, followed by the physically disabled, the sick, foreign residents, women, the elderly, and gender identity. Of the cases in which the MOJ initiated redress for victims, 18.6% involved privacy violations, 14.5% involved labor rights, 13.3% involved school bullying, 12.8% involved assault and abuse, and 10.2% involved extortion and coercion. According to the MOJ, the number of human rights violations has decreased from year to year. But the number of cases of school bullying and human rights violations on the Internet remained high. foreigners in Japan may face human rights violations that Japanese citizens do not. In recent years, Western media has reported that Japanese firms frequently confiscate the passports of guest workers in Japan, particularly unskilled laborers from the Philippines and other poorer Asian countries. Japan has a criminal conviction rate of over 99%. In several cases, courts have acknowledged confessions were forced and released those imprisoned. To combat this, a law was passed in 2016 requiring some interrogations to be videotaped. However, this only applies to people accused of serious crimes, such as murder, arson and kidnapping, which make up only 3% of cases. The Constitution and the Criminal Code include safeguards to ensure that no criminal suspect can be compelled to make a self-incriminating conviction. Prison conditions met international standards. Although some lacked adequate medical care and sufficient heating in the winter or cooling in the summer, and some facilities were overcrowded. Prisoners were not allowed to purchase or receive supplementary food. While death records are kept for 10 years, many of them were missing, which sparked an ongoing review of the prison system. The Constitution prohibits arbitrary arrest and detention, and the government generally observes these prohibitions. The law provides for judicial determination of the legality of detention. Persons may not be detained without charge, and prosecuting authorities must be prepared to demonstrate that probable cause exists to detain the accused. The Japanese Constitution provides for freedom of speech and of the press. In theory, an independent press, an effective judiciary, and a functioning democratic political system combine to ensure freedom of speech and of the press. However, Japan's system of exclusive press clubs has been criticized by press freedom groups. Internet access in Japan is absolutely unrestricted. There are neither government restrictions on internet access nor reports that the government checks on email or internet chat rooms without appropriate legal authority in the country. The Constitution and law broadly protects free expression, and the government respects this right in practice. The Constitution provides for the freedom of assembly and association, and the government generally respects these rights in practice. The Constitution provides for freedom of religion. Freedom of religion is guaranteed to all. No religious organization shall receive any privileges from the state, nor exercise any political authority. The Constitution provides for the freedom of movement within the country, foreign travel, immigration, and repatriation, and the government generally respects them in practice. The Constitution provides citizens with the right to change their government peacefully, and citizens exercise this right in practice through periodic, free, and fair elections held on the basis of universal suffrage. The country is a parliamentary democracy governed by the political party or parties able to form a majority in the lower house of its bicameral diet. The Constitution prohibits discrimination of citizens on the basis of race, creed, gender, social status, or family origin. Non-citizens are not protected from these forms of discrimination by the Constitution nor the law as of 2014. Violence against women, particularly domestic violence, often goes unreported due to social and cultural concerns about shaming one's family or endangering the reputation of one's spouse or children. Transport in Japan is modern and highly developed. Japan's transport sector stands out for its energy efficiency. It uses less energy per person compared to other countries, thanks to a high share of rail transport and low overall travel distances. Transport in Japan is also very expensive in international comparison, reflecting high tolls and taxes. Particularly on automobile transport, Japan's spending on roads has been large. Traffic in Japan drives on the left. A single network of high-speed divided, limited-access toll roads connects major cities, which are operated by toll-collecting enterprises. Dozens of Japanese railway companies compete in regional and local passenger transport markets. For instance, 7 junior group companies, Kintetsu Railway, Seibu Railway, and Keio Corporation. Often, strategies of these enterprises contain real estate or department stores next to stations. Some 250 high-speed Shinkansen trains connect major cities. All trains are known for punctuality. There are 176 airports, and the largest domestic airport, Haneda Airport, was by passenger traffic the third busiest in Asia and the fourth busiest in the world in 2018, but not in the top 10 in 2022. The largest international gateways are Narita International Airport, Tokyo area, Kansai International Airport, Osaka, Kobe, Kyoto area, and Chubu Centrair International Airport, Nagoya area. The largest ports include Nagoya Port. Education is compulsory at the elementary and lower secondary levels. For a total of 9 years, education in Japan is managed by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology, MEXT, of Japan. This early start of modernization enabled Japan to provide education at all levels in the native language. Rather than using the languages of powerful countries that could have had a strong influence in the region, current educational policies focus on promoting lifelong learning, advanced professional education, and internationalizing higher education through initiatives such as accepting more international students, as the nation has a rapidly aging and shrinking population. The contemporary Japanese education system is a product of historical reforms dating back to the Meiji period, which established modern educational institutions and systems. Japanese students consistently achieve high rankings in reading, mathematics, and sciences according to OECD evaluations. In the 2018 Program for International Student Assessment, PISA, Japan ranked 8th globally, with an average score of 520 compared to the OECD average of 488. Despite this relatively high performance, Japan's spending on education as a percentage of GDP is 4.1%, below the OECD average of 5%. However, the expenditure per student is relatively high. As of 2023, around 65% of Japanese aged 25 to 34 have attained some form of tertiary education, with a significant number holding degrees in science and engineering, fields crucial to Japan's technology-driven economy. Japanese women surpass men in higher education attainment, with 59% holding university degrees compared to 52% of men. MEXT reports that 80.6% of 18-year-olds pursue higher education, with a majority attending universities. The academic year in Japan begins in April. Classes are normally held from Monday to Friday. At the primary and secondary level, the school year consists of 2 or 3 terms, which are separated by short holidays in spring and winter, and a 6-week-long summer break. Universities typically have 2 semesters, with the second starting from September or October, incorporating a new year break towards the end of the semester. The lower secondary school covers grades 7 through 9, with children typically aged 12 through 15. There are 3.2 million primary school students in Japan as of 2023, down from over 5.3 million in 1991. However, the number of junior high schools has remained relatively static, falling from 11,275 in 1993 to 9,944 in 2023. The number of junior high school teachers has also changed little, with 257,605 junior high school teachers in 1996, and 247,485 in 2023. Approximately 8% of junior high students attend private junior high schools, accounting for 7% of all junior high schools by number. Japan's compulsory education ends at grade 9. But less than 2% drop out. The ministry recognizes a need to improve the teaching of all foreign languages, especially English. To improve instruction in spoken English, the government invites many young native speakers of English to Japan to serve as assistants to school boards and prefectures under its Japan Exchange and Teaching Program, JET. Though upper secondary school is not compulsory in Japan, 98.8% of all junior high school graduates enrolled as of 2020. Upper secondary consists of 3 years. Private upper secondary schools account for about 55% of all upper secondary schools. The most common type of upper secondary school has a full-time general program that offers academic courses for students preparing for higher education as well as technical and vocational courses for students expecting to find employment after graduation. Higher and tertiary education in Japan is provided in universities, daigaku, junior colleges, Kenki Daigaku, colleges of technology, Koto Senmin Gakko, and special training colleges, Senmin Gakko. Of these 4 types of institutions, only universities and junior colleges are strictly considered as higher education. The following is the set of compulsory subjects currently taught in the Japanese education system from the primary to secondary levels: Japanese, arithmetic, mathematics, science, technology, foreign languages, social studies, history, geography, and civics, physical education, health, sports, etc. Moral education, usually taught at the primary school level, informatics, information technology, home economics. Elementary school students, years 1 through 6, are expected to complete their compulsory primary school education as well as pass the admissions examinations for junior high schools. For students to enter the secondary school level, students are required to sit for and pass the admissions examinations set by the schools. Failure indicates that students cannot proceed to secondary school. Healthcare in Japan is provided by national and local governments. Payment for personal medical services is offered through a universal health insurance system that provides relative equality of access, with fees set by a government committee. People without insurance through employers can participate in a national health insurance program administered by local governments. Japan spent 11.42% of its total GDP on healthcare in 2022. In 2020, the overall life expectancy in Japan at birth was 85 years, 82 years for men and 88 years for women, the highest in the world, while it had a very low infant mortality rate, 2 per 1,000 live births. The healthcare system in Japan provides different types of services, including screening examinations, prenatal care and infectious disease control, with the patient accepting responsibility for 30% of these costs while the government pays the remaining 70%. Payment for personal medical services is offered by a universal healthcare insurance system that provides relative equality of access, with fees set by a government committee. All residents of Japan are required by the law to have health insurance coverage. People without insurance from employers can participate in a national health insurance program administered by local governments. Patients are free to select physicians or facilities of their choice and cannot be denied coverage. Hospitals, by law, must be run as non-profits and be managed by physicians. The level of health in Japan is due to a number of factors including cultural habits, isolation, and a universal healthcare system. Japanese visit a doctor nearly 14 times a year, more than 4 times as often as Americans. Life expectancy in 2013 was 83.3 years, among the highest on the planet. a new measure of expected human capital calculated for 195 countries from 1990 to 2016 and defined for each birth cohort as the expected years lived from age 20 to 64 years and adjusted for educational attainment, learning or education quality, and functional health status, was published by The Lancet in September 2018. Japan had the highest level of expected human capital among the 20 largest countries. 24.1 health, education, and learning adjusted expected years lived between age 20 and 64 years. There are many factors to consider, but suicide rates overall appear to increase with age. As seen in the figure in this section, as of 2003, suicides of people in their 20s made up about 10%, those in their 30s made up about 12%, those in their 40s made up about 16%, those in their 50s made up about 25%, and those in their 60s or older made up about 33%. One of the biggest public health issues is smoking in Japan, which, according to Tadao Kakizo, honorary president of the National Cancer Center, kills more than 100,000 people per year and is responsible for 1 in 10 deaths. A team led by Professor Osaki of Tottori University estimated the social cost of excessive drinking in Japan to be 4.15 trillion yen a year. In Japan, services are provided either through regional, national public hospitals or through private hospitals, clinics, and patients have universal access to any facility. Though hospitals tend to charge higher for those without a referral, supplementary private health insurance is available only to cover the co-payments or non-covered costs, and usually makes a fixed payment per days in a hospital or per surgery performed, rather than per actual expenditure. Traditional Chinese medicine was introduced to Japan with other elements of Chinese culture during the 5th to 9th century. Since around 1900, Chinese-style herbalists have been required to be licensed medical doctors. Training was professionalized and, except for East Asian healers, was based on a biomedical model of the disease. However, the practice of biomedicine was influenced as well by Japanese social organization and cultural expectations concerning education, the organization of the workplace, and social relations of status and dependency, decision-making styles, and ideas about the human body, causes of illness, gender, individualism, and privacy. Although the number of AIDS cases remained small by international standards, public health officials were concerned in the late 1980s about the worldwide epidemic of acquired immune deficiency syndrome, AIDS. The first confirmed case of AIDS in Japan was reported in 1985. By 1991 there were 553 reported cases, and by April 1992 the number had risen to 2,077. The climate and weather patterns in Japan have undergone changes that have led to an increase in mean temperature. As a result, vulnerable populations such as the elderly are at high risk due to the intensity of heat waves and heat stress. Sports in Japan are a significant part of Japanese culture. Traditional sports, such as sumo and martial arts, as well as Western imports like baseball, association football, basketball and tennis are popular with both participants and spectators. Sumo is considered Japan's national sport. Baseball was introduced to the country by visiting Americans in the 19th century. The Nippon Professional Baseball League has been Japan's largest professional sports competition in terms of television ratings and spectators. Martial arts such as judo, karate and modern kendo are also widely practiced and enjoyed by spectators in the country. Association football has gained wide popularity since the founding of the Japan Professional Football League in 1992. Other popular sports include figure skating, rugby union, golf, table tennis and racing, especially auto racing. Some new sports were invented by changing elements of imported sports. There are opportunities to play various sports for all ages. And school plays an important role in community. Kindergarten and lower elementary school students can play in a private sport club that can be joined for a moderate fee. Most martial arts can be started as little as 5 to 6 years old. When a student starts 5th grade, school offers free after-school activities for its students to participate. Middle and high schools also encourage their students to join school sport clubs. Prefectural and national-wide level contests and tournaments are held every winter and summer for all sports. Some of the tournaments, such as National High School Baseball Championship, have a very high level of popularity among fans, comparable to professional sports. The second Monday of October is a national holiday of Japan, Health and Sports Day. This date, originally October 10th, commemorates the opening day of the 1964 Summer Olympics held in Tokyo. Many major figure skating events are regularly held in Japan. The Grand Prix event, the NHK Trophy, has been held in various cities throughout Japan every year since 1979. Japan has also been host of the World Figure Skating Championships and ISU Grand Prix final numerous times. Sumo wrestling is the national sport in Japan. Sumo wrestling is believed to have originated in Japan, with its governing body being the Japan Sumo Association. The history of boxing in Japan began in 1854 when Matthew Perry landed at Shimoda, Shizuoka soon after the Convention of Kanagawa. At that time, American sailors often engaged in sparring matches on board their ships, with their fists wrapped in thin leather. It was the first example of boxing conveyed to Japan. In the 2009-10 season, all 4 reigning world champion singles skaters were from Japan. Figure skating events in Japan are well attended and TV broadcasts attract a large audience. The major surge in its popularity has come mainly within the past decade with the success of its native skaters, but there have been avid fans in the country for international skaters for much longer. FIS Ski Weltcup Tidazi Neustadt 2016, Noriaki Kasai skiing is also popular and taught in schools in northern parts of the mountainous country. Table tennis is popular both as competition and recreation. From the 1950s to 1970s, Japan was one of the strongest countries in the world, producing 13 world singles champions. After long struggling years, they regained momentum in the 2010s and won many medals in the World Championships and the Olympic Games, though experiencing difficulty in surpassing China. Mixed martial arts, MMA, has been the most popular combat sport in Japan since the 1970s, and the country is considered a world power. The first example of this sport in Japan was the historic fight between Japanese fighter Antonio Inoki and American boxer Muhammad Ali. Baseball is historically the most popular team sport in Japan. It was introduced to Japan in 1872 by Horace Wilson, who taught at the Keisei School in Tokyo. The first baseball team was called the Shimbashi Athletic Club and was established in 1878. Baseball has been a popular sport ever since. Association football is the second most popular team sport in Japan, behind baseball. The Japan Football Association, JFA, is the governing body of Japanese football. The JFA organizes the men's, women's, and futsal national teams. Especially since the emergence of Yuta Tabuse and Takuya Kawamura, basketball has received a recent revival and become a popular sport in Japan. The Japan national basketball team won the FIBA Asia Championship twice and has qualified for the event 25 out of 26 times. The Japanese national handball teams are controlled by the Japan Handball Association. Ice hockey is a minor sport but growing in popularity. Currently, 4 Japanese teams compete in the Asia League Ice Hockey. Rugby union is a moderately popular sport in Japan. The Japanese national rugby union team, controlled by the Japan Rugby Football Union, has been to every Rugby World Cup since 1987.